Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. Together we dive into the world of sci-fi and science fiction. From episodes of Star Trek, Star Wars, to The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all the hot new science fiction movies from the backdoors of Marvel or DC. The Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. You'll never look at science fiction the same way again.
And welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast. I'm Shay Northrop.
And I'm Pauline.
And we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about cyberpunk, the movie Big Trouble in Little China.
Which I'm very, very excited about.
And we went and saw that movie Morgan.
We did see Morgan.
And we've got a lot to say about that.
Of course, Shay always has something to say about everything, but I am very excited. But actually, first, Shay...
Oh yeah. So before let's talk a little bit about. So last week we talked a little bit about the possible, and I said in the podcast, the possible reboot of Firefly with Michael Bay in charge. Turns out it was a hoax. It was a joke that the sciencefiction.com was playing on its readers. But anyway, it's kind of good to think about these hypothetical things, because in a world where Michael Bay does do Firefly, A, it would have probably have ended up more successful, and B, it would have probably been a piece of garbage.
No, but I was just getting really upset the fact that it was going to be like Megan Fox and Shia LaBeouf. All those people. All kinds of terribleness. And Amy, I was like, is it going to be like a comedy now? What's going on?
Right. No. Well, comedy is in the fact that you watch it because it's so bad, right? So another thing that we mispronounced last week was we talked a little bit about Morgan, and I swear to God, Kate Mara looks just like Anna Kendrick. Those two, they're cut from the same cloth.
Shay was just telling you guys a bunch of lies last time. He was like, let's see if anybody will notice all the lies.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that.
2 lies and a truth. That's
but
what
we mentioned the movie Morgan a little bit, and so it's Kate Mara, not Anna Kendrick.
He apologizes, Kate.
They look the same to me.
Similar.
They are very
Kate's
similar.
Like
so
the
Kate
older,
is from
dark sister, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like you're right about that.
Because Anna's sweet.
She is.
But she might be Squirrel Girl, cutesy. So I might not like her anymore.
But what's it called? She was in House of Cards and a few other things. A lot more lower, I guess you could say, than Anna Kendrick in a lot of ways.
Wow. So first you diss the girl by calling her Anna, and then you tell us that she's low.
Well, I mean,
gotcha.
she's not on the radar as much as Anna Kendrick. You know what I mean?
Because perhaps people like you keep confusing her with Anna.
Well, it's just who's that guy? Is it Jesse Eisenberg and Michael Cera that everybody always confuses?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh, did you see the social media with Michael Cera?" And I'm like, "That's not Michael Cera."
We'll let it slide this time, Shay.
Okay, thank you. My apologies.
She accepts your apology.
Who, you or?
I do on Kate's behalf.
Okay, on Kate's behalf. Oh,
yes, on Kate's
I'm not apologizing to her.
Wow. Anyways, Shay is just so disappointed in himself for making this huge error.
Oh, please. I'm fine.
Huge error.
Let's talk about Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes, let's talk about it. So I was actually very excited to... Actually, no, I'm lying. I was not very excited to see this movie because when I saw the movie poster for it, I was like, eh.
Oh, I love the movie poster.
But I was just like,
So a little bit of backstory. We decided that we were going to talk about the subject of cyberpunk this week, and we will get to that at the end of the episode as per usual. And Pauline was asking me, well, what movies can I watch that represent cyberpunk?
Right.
And, of course, Blade Runner, but Big Trouble in Little China does technically fit in that category. So I recommended that, and you actually went out and watched it. I'm really surprised in you.
Well, honestly, the only reason why I was able to do this, I'm not going to lie, is because it's on Netflix. So
yes.
I was like, perfect. I can watch it at home with my dad, and we can enjoy this. And I purposely made sure that I was not very tired when I started watching this movie, because I was like, you know what? Don't want to risk falling asleep. I want to make Shay proud of me. So, so I started the movie, and... honestly, it was actually a lot of fun. It came out in the 80s.
Yes, 86.
But then the thing is, even though it came out in the 80s, it was still a lot of fun. The graphics were actually pretty good considering.
Well, yeah, and most of the effects in that movie are practical, which is the way that special effects should be done.
Mm-hmm. And so I actually laughed throughout the entire movie. I think it may actually be my new favorite movie. I'm not kidding. Mm-hmm. Which
oh, really? Wow.
No, I'm serious, because it was funny, had some action in there. You know?
See, and it's interesting that you watched it with your dad because that's how I was actually introduced to it. Like he was like, "Have you guys seen Big Trouble in Little China?" When we were in a video store when I was a little kid, and we were like, "Oh no!" So we like put it on, and it's a cult classic. Like people who love Big Trouble in Little China and know of its existence, like love it. It's
right.
John Carpenter, who I always say is like my spirit animal of a director. Like if I could have a spirit animal director, it would be John Carpenter. I love his stuff, even though it's not always a hit. A lot of times his stuff...
I'm wondering if that's kind of why it didn't do so well when it first came out.
I don't think it did bad when it first came out.
But
it made a lot of money.
Like 11 mil.
Yeah, but I mean, that was good for the 80s.
But it wasn't.
Back before the economy got
they had like a
$20,
not a $20 budget, a $20 million budget or something like that. So.
Oh well, they probably made it back in video sales because that movie was really popular.
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel like afterwards it did really well. But it was pretty good, and I did like because we watched it because it fit into the genre of cyberpunk, which was a lot of fun. But I like that it wasn't too many effects to kind of like make it too, but it was like good cheesy. I like it.
Well, it's so if you don't know about Big Trouble in Little China, it is a movie that stars Kurt Russell, Kim Cattrall, Dennis Dunn, and James Hahn. The film tells the story of Jack Burton, who helps his friend Wang Chi rescue his green-eyed fiance from bandits in San Francisco's Chinatown.
Yep.
So it's kind of like set up where there's like a mysterious underworld beneath Chinatown with some magic, and there's a evil sorcerer named David Lopan who requires an Asian woman with green eyes to release him from a centuries-old curse. And so Kurt Russell kind of gets thrown in the middle of it. There's a lot of martial arts, a bit of pretty cool special effects and magic and stuff like that. And, I think this is when the firearm, the Tech 9, first came out.
Right.
So I think they were really, like, showing off and flashing the gun because I know, like, in a lot of movies, the firearm represents the character in a lot of ways. Like, you can kind of relate the two. So that's kind of one of those situations where, like, the Tech 9 is all over the cover, it's all over the trailers, and all of that. So what else can you tell us about the movie, Pauline?
Well, I just enjoyed the fact that, because I know, so I'm learning that cyberpunk is something that couldn't happen today, but could possibly happen tomorrow. So
yes,
a lot of, but I did like, so this movie, it kind of struck me because even though it was made in the 80s, like kind of like the late 80s, and it's 2016 now, I still was enjoying it, and I still saw some things in the movie. Like, if you told me that they created, besides some of the effects and like some of the cheesiness, it could come out today and be relevant today as well. And so
it's one of those interesting things though where
it's kind of timeless.
It kind of has like a story that is very unusual.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a movie quite like Big Trouble in Little China. And so it's kind of one of those, like, unique situations where it is its own thing, and it doesn't quite fit anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with that being said, too, like, I think you'll find, Pauline, that if you watch more 80s movies, you'll realize, especially if you get, like, the Blu-ray editions, they're usually a lot better than what comes out today. Like,
yeah,
because they were very open-minded about things. Instead of trying to remake and do a ton of sequels, they had a ton of original ideas that if you came to a producer and said, like, hey, look, I want to try this outrageous thing, it'd be like, okay, who do you have attached? And then you tell them, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like Ghostbusters was so popular because it's so different. Big Trouble in Little China is great because it's so different. Mad Max at the time was its own thing. So it was really different. And like, you didn't have a lot of what we have today where we're just getting clones of the same movies being put out. Yeah, like, I mean, you'll have two movies come out at the same time that's very similar. And one of the things that's interesting to note, too, when they were pushing Big Trouble in Little China, they pushed to get it released a little bit early. There was a bit of a rush in production.
Right.
Because Eddie Murphy's film, The Golden Child, was coming out at the same time. And it's not even close to, like, the same thing. I guess just both films take place in Chinatown. Like, it's not the same thing. I don't... And if that was something that they were worried about, then, like, you'd think today people would be worried about releasing... because what, like... 2013 or 14, there was like 2 Hercules movies released like within the same 2 months. So I don't know. It's really interesting, like how different things are. Yet like yesterday as opposed to like today. You know what I mean?
True.
And I think that's all the time we have for this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Morgan. And her.
And I was kind of off. We were kind of off on our prediction on the ending of Morgan. But I figured it out during the movie. Shay.
We'll talk.
We'll dive into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. All right, so we're going to go to a break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast. I'm still Shay.
And I will always be Pauline.
Now, last week, we talked a little bit about the movie Morgan and how you were looking forward to it.
I was.
And I was not, but we went and saw it in theaters at different times. You tell me what you think about it, and then I'll talk about it.
First of all, I was so proud of myself for figuring out the ending. Now, I admit, I did not think of that ending when we first previewed this movie.
Well, yeah, the trailer gave me a completely different vibe.
First off, the trailer is completely different than the movie. I feel like
a little bit, yeah.
They kind of mislead you. But it's okay. It's okay. Because I thought that what I thought it was going to be kind of lame. And I kind of knew, I was looking forward to the movie because I like it when we do these humanoid movies and we create something and they grow up, all of that kind of thing.
I'm so tired of them.
Well, anyways.
Sorry.
So I enjoy them. I do.
I've just seen them so many times.
Well, okay. So as a newbie to this beautiful world of sci-fi, I'm enjoying it right now.
Okay, good. Then I'll put some good ones in your
right.
I'll make a list.
And so Morgan, there were a lot of things that we thought one way, but due to the trailers and some of the articles that we were reading, but then the story and the things that she does, she's not. I mean, I don't know. Can we say?
We can talk a little bit about what happens in the film, but vaguely.
Very vaguely.
I don't really want to spoil it for any of you guys who are going to come out.
Think so.
One of the things that I noticed about this movie was it was really hard to find a showing for it. I looked, it was only playing at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
and I'm okay, well, maybe I want to come in the morning.
Well, I did actually watch Morgan at 11 a.m.
Oh, really?
I did because there was only one theater that was showing it, and I had to do it before work, and there was at 11 a.m. So I was like, I guess I'm going to wake up to go see Morgan at 11 a.m., which, I mean, but I like the, so I liked a few things there was a few aspects of the film that I actually really liked.
Can I talk about the trailer really quick?
Yeah, go.
So one of the things that really kind of threw me off was the trailer, because the trailer made it seem like it was going to be this movie about this god, so it's your basic scientist god complex movie with a superhuman, and they made it seem, to me at least, with the trailer, that she was going to have all kinds of special powers. Because they're she's special and she has powers, and I guess if your power, I'm not going to tell you some of the things that happen.
Okay, so we're going to stop you right there because you're going to spoil it. So
go ahead and talk about the movie.
I did like that she was kind of gray throughout the entire movie.
I hated that.
But see, I like it because she wasn't really a human, so she can't really be a color.
But the thing is, though, is her whole reason for attacking people is
What are you saying? I'm talking about her color.
Well, I'm talking about the movie. I thought you were talking about the cinematography, because the cinematography in the movie is just gray the entire
everything
time.
Everything is gray. But
There's nothing beautiful to
her
look
being
at.
Gray.
There's nothing particularly special about the cinematography. It's really basic. And even some of the edits, there was some really weird jump cuts where I'm why did you guys decide to do that? This isn't that kind of movie.
Well, anyways, so she's gray because she's a humanoid, so she's not really
she's not really.
She's a human-ish thing. But it did bother me that she never takes her hood off, really.
Yeah, no, that's so
I was for what?
stupid.
And she's wearing the same outfit the entire time. They just keep creating the same outfit.
She doesn't emote at all.
Yeah.
So the whole point behind this whole humanoid thing is she wants to get out, right? We can get that from the trailer, right? She wants out.
Right.
Well, give her some freaking emotions. Like, we're seeing this thing, and like she goes out into it. Doesn't matter. Like that.
She doesn't have a heart. What, does she have a heart? I don't think she has a heart. She doesn't have a heart.
The thing though is that like if you're going to give us this story, and even like in the beginning of the movie, this isn't giving anything away. Like they say, the worst thing you can do to somebody who's locked in a room is to show them the window, right?
True.
And so like she's been outside, she's seen the world, she wants to go out to the world because she thinks it's going to be heaven, right?
Right.
Well, you don't see her like do any kind of emotions besides just like jumping and stabbing and shooting people. Like,
wow.
It just kind of like, like what I'm saying? Like,
I do. And
it's like one of those things where it's like we need to see more of her.
They did not develop her very well throughout that movie.
No, not at all.
She doesn't. I still am very unsure about her.
I think
because we don't really get to know her.
Kate Mara doesn't really develop well either.
Well, there's reasoning behind that too.
Yes, I know there's reasoning behind that. You'll see.
Which is very. I thought Kate Mara. I thought they did very well in that movie because yeah.
I liked the girl that's kind of trying to show her around.
Amy.
Now, the best scene in the movie is the one they focus on, of course, the most in the trailer. Mm-hmm. The scene where she's sitting down with a psychiatrist and like, they're talking, right?
Right.
Like her being Morgan and the psychiatrist. And honestly, the psychiatrist was the best actor in the whole movie.
Definitely.
They spent like, what was it, like 20 minutes on that scene?
Yeah, and it
was really long.
It was a really good piece.
For the most part, it was good. I think it did kind of wear thin after a minute. But
then they pushed it up.
Yeah, then it escalated, of course.
Right.
Another thing that I thought was kind of silly
man.
at the end of the movie, there's like a martial arts fight scene. I'm not going to tell you like the context of it, but I'm like, who's teaching this little girl that's been alive for like what?
She's not
3
a girl.
years?
She's an it.
That they say that in the movie. She's an it. She's been alive for what? 3 years.
5, Shay.
5, something like that.
Shay fell asleep during the movie. That is why
I did. I fell
asleep
twice
and does not appreciate Morgan.
I got the point. I saw the movie. There was nothing deep except for surface level. This is Ridley Scott's son. Yes. I expect a little bit more for Ridley Scott. So, Mr. Scott, you either need to take a paternity test, or maybe the apple does not fall far from the tree, or maybe the apple falls far from the tree, because like this was not a Ridley Scott movie. And I know he's gonna have his own different things, and yes, he's just starting out, but like Ridley Scott gave us his
stamp of approval. And I think he's part of the team.
Yeah, he was a producer, but he has so many good movies under his belt. Like, it's like, okay, buddy, like you did Alien. Like,
yeah.
I feel like this was really shallow for a sci-fi movie. Like, wow. I wanted more depth.
Well, anyways, because I loved the movie.
Well, tell me why
another
you love
aspect. Okay, I'll tell you another reason why I like this movie.
Oh, please don't get mad at me, though.
No, I'm definitely not mad at you. Never mad at you. I like that there's no sexual actions in the movie.
Oh, please explain.
There's one kiss.
Yes.
That's great.
Well, they talk about sex, but they don't actually do anything.
I don't need to wait 2 minutes through a sex scene to get nowhere. Like this, that has nothing to do with what they're trying to say.
Honestly, the only reason this movie is R is because there's some like minor gore. It basically goes from being what you'd think would be a cerebral film into a horror film like that. Right. A non-scary horror film.
Not scary horror. There is a lot of blood, which I mean, I actually like that part. I was like, there's a lot of action in here. There's a lot going on, a lot of shooting. I was like, this is great. And no naked people. I was like, this is great. This is great. Like, I was like, I'm actually thoroughly enjoying this. I can just watch this. If I wanted to go home and say, Mom, let's watch this together, I won't be embarrassed. Like, it was good. That part I liked about it. Because I don't like it when action movies turn into like romantic movies. And I'm like, for what? I just want to see somebody shoot somebody. So that's what I liked about it.
I guess I'm a little desensitized because like, have you seen American Psycho? Oh, man. I
haven't had the pleasure.
I love American Psycho. I don't think it's your cup of tea. It'll probably scare you.
That's what I'm saying. I don't watch scary movies.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple like really racy sex scenes in that movie, and I'm watching it. And I watched it with my mom. Well, it's because he's scary. It's a scary movie.
But what does scary?
Oh, well, if you were to watch American Psycho, you would realize that these sex scenes have a lot to do with his like
psychological dominance.
Like it's all about.
But why? It's okay. No,
you would have to see the movie. Yeah, we're talking about Morgan.
So I enjoy that Morgan. I appreciate that. I appreciate that it was more of like an action movie. And,
okay.
But I do think that they did a poor job of developing Morgan as a character. I still feel like I don't really understand her or get to know her. So.
And this kind of movie I've seen time and time again. I mean, it's dating back to like the 50s. They do a lot of these master scientists creates a creature. The creature goes haywire. Like, it's a textbook example of the God complex type film without all the depth of a God complex type film.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even the way it ended, I've seen a lot of student films that have ended the same way. And it's just something that, like, if I was fresh, you know, if I was fresh to this genre of science fiction, I would probably think, okay, this isn't bad. But because I've seen things like Splice and because I've seen things like, you know, like Lucy and all those other things that are out there that are very similar, it's just like you're giving me the same lasagna. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I do. I see what you're saying. So now I'm actually on to watch Splice and Lucy because now I need to watch more.
You probably wouldn't like Splice.
Is it scary?
Well, there's a couple like crazy sex scenes and like it's really.
Well, I understand that a lot of movies have that, but I just appreciate when they don't.
It's a little gross. The movie's a little gross, and it's honestly Splice isn't a good movie per se, but I enjoy it just because I liked some of the special effects when it came out, and I enjoyed some of the ideas.
Right. Well.
And that is about all the time we have for this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about cyberpunk. So stick around.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch, whatever it may be.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast. Right, you know, I just do that just to make you laugh, podcast.
Right? Not smooth jazz. Nice. Like, your voice is so. I love it, Shay.
Well, you know, I just do these kind of things to get you going, right? You know.
Yeah, but
I'm an instigator.
So this is a science fiction podcast. I am always going to be Pauline. He's going to be Shay.
Yeah, she mentioned my name a couple seconds earlier.
I did. Shay.
Yep,
just
that's
Shay.
It. Okay, fine.
Shay and P and Shay. So, so Shay would like to discuss and end this episode talking about cyberpunk. And
yes. So cyberpunk is a subgenre of science fiction that usually focuses on, put it simply, high-tech, low-life. Mm-hmm. So what it is big cities, a lot of technology, but usually in like more poverty-stricken areas.
Right.
Usually there's somebody, it's kind of noir-esque. So there's usually somebody trying to uncover some big plot that the higher society has against the lower society, what's going on. You could consider Blade Runner as that. Soylent Green could be considered cyberpunk. And it usually focuses on dystopian eras. A lot of books have been written about it. A lot of movies have been made about it. A lot of video games and that sort of thing.
Right.
How would you describe cyberpunk?
Well, I know that a really good example, kind of like a modern day example and also like a real life example too, is actually like the city of Tokyo.
Yes.
And because it kind of embodies exactly what cyberpunk in the 80s when cyberpunk was kind of starting out and getting like really big and popular, they were using the city of Tokyo as kind of I don't want to say like a template, but an example, a real life example of what cyberpunk is. So it's urbanized, it has a lot of artificial landscapes and a lot of huge tall buildings and things like that, the city lights and all of that, but then the underlying, so you have a lot of like that glamour and that high tech involvement within everyday life, but that's not necessarily the reality for the people that are living there. So it was actually kind of cool it is kind of cool to have that modern day example that is being imitated by art.
Yeah. So kind of the way that it was kind of started was with Philip K. Dick's book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was then turned into the film Blade Runner. And that's kind of been like the template for cyberpunk. It's also a lot to do with like the style. A lot of what cyberpunk isn't so much about what the plot is or the type of story it is. It's usually the style.
Right.
So you get a lot of like people with integrated tech on their person and their clothes, whatever they're wearing, and a lot of like little cool technological advances, but in a society that's usually poor. So a lot of times, like, what you could say is that instead of it taking place today, it could take place tomorrow, kind of a thing. Like a future that could happen in a dystopian sort of tomorrow or next year or that sort of thing. Usually the government is set up as a bad guy and that sort of thing, and it's usually somebody trying to take it down, or maybe even somebody who works for the government and is finding out that maybe their job isn't so good. I know I keep going back to Blade Runner, but it is really the perfect example. There have been a lot of games and literature based on this sort of thing. If you've ever heard of the game, what is it, Shadowrun? There's a couple video games based on it, and there's the like board game, role-playing game in of itself called Shadowrun, and it's a really hard game to get into. If you know anything about RPGs in general, Shadowrun, you have to kind of run 3 worlds at the same time. So there's like a spiritual element to it, a technological internet element to it, and a real world element to it. The book is like super, super thick. I've played one game, and from there, I don't think I'll play it again because it's really hard to find people that are willing to devote that much time to just creating a character. So another thing that incorporates a lot of cyberpunk into it is anime. You'll see a lot of cyberpunk in like movies like Akira, Neuromancer, Megazone 23. You could even say Cowboy Bebop in a sense is kind of cyberpunk-esque. A lot of things fit into this category, and I guess it's kind of cool because like the social impact that it's had, it has affected some of our music that we listen to today. It has affected, it usually has a blending of cultures and society, which is kind of nice. And, it also has like an effect on kind of how we look at things from a different way. Like sci-fi, like I've said in the past, has always been a really good form for getting out social messages and that sort of thing. And it's always kind of been a poster boy for being progressive, So that's kind of a little bit of a tidbit on science fiction, cyberpunk. So we are just about running out of time here on the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast. And Pauline had something she wanted to talk about, something she found this weekend.
I did. So I am discovering this for me, it's a new world of science fiction. And I recently had the pleasure of watching The Langoliers, which, when I say pleasure, I mean it as in my dad was enjoying it. So, I'm glad he was enjoying it. I got to watch some of that with him. But it's funny. It was really funny to me. The graphics, the little Langolier things themselves.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but laugh out loud when they came onto the screen because I was expecting something very different. They kind of looked like those mushroom things, or not those mushroom things, but the Venus flytraps from Super Mario. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, it was a good laugh. It was a lot of fun. My dad did not appreciate the fact that I thought it was so funny that I was not enjoying the movie. I think that the storyline was pretty good. That concept of like time and yesterday being like frozen in time and that you can't go back and change it or anything. I thought that was kind of like a cool part of the movie, but the Langoliers themselves was not what I was expecting. But then again, I guess it kind of was good because it was really cheesy and really funny, and an example of how far our graphics have come and like our effects when it comes to movies.
That was bad at the time it came out.
But then that's what I was thinking. I was like, this cannot be the best of the best. But I mean, like, it was kind of fun. It was good. I thought it was fun.
So I think next week, and I'm glad you brought this up, because next week we're going to actually talk about Stephen King movies versus Stephen King miniseries. Mm-hmm. This is something that's been talked a lot about in the science fiction culture in of itself. I kind of want to touch on it a little bit, just kind of give you guys a taste of what it is. I know Pauline's seen quite a few Stephen King movies, and I've seen quite a few myself. Mm-hmm. And The Laguniers, that is an example of a bad Stephen King. You know, it's funny because when he is in control, usually it sucks.
Right.
I hate to say it. I love the guy. I love his writing. But it's usually better when some other seasoned director takes it and does their thing with it.
Right.
But we will talk about that next episode. This has been the Golden State Media Concepts Science Fiction Podcast. I'm Shay Northrup.
And I'm still Pauline. And you can find us on our network website, gsmcpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode, future episodes, and any of our past episodes, as well as on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You can find all that we got, everything that we have to offer.
We're in a lot of places. We're hiding everywhere.
Everywhere. You can't hide from us.
Well, we can't hide from you.
True.
All right, so that's it, and have a good night.